I was a scholarship boy at my school and very proud of it. And I have to ask, what kind of a politician is it that sets out to make it more difficult for schools to offer exactly the kind of scholarships and bursaries that gave him such a crucial leg up in life? And the answer, of course, is Keir Starmer and the opportunity-destroying, aspiration-hating Labour Party. Read about it in my column in the Daily Mail.
The Labour Party is facing a crisis, and Keir Starmer is at the centre of it. His own deputies have started to voice their dissent. How did we end up in this situation? From his unsuccessful attempt to lead Badenoch to the controversial schools bill and the Heathrow policy, Starmer has been digging himself deeper. And Trump's speech was the final nail in the coffin that ultimately weakened his position. We will explain how the Labour leader became their biggest obstacle. Let's take a closer look at the schools bill that Starmer proposed. You might expect that someone trying to regain voters' trust would present something reasonably sound, right? But you'd be mistaken. This bill is such a disaster that even Labour MPs are scratching their heads, questioning what their leader is thinking. What exactly does this bill entail?
They are laughing the same way they all laughed during the budget when they talked about raising NI. They have no idea what people out there are dealing with. And that is why yesterday we voted against his damaging jobs tax. Even former supporters, Chef Tom Kerridge, who endorsed Labour at the election, said that the budget was catastrophic. He built a real business employing young people, unlike his cabinet of trade union stooges, CV embellishers, and an actual fraudster. None of them have ever run a business. Why, when he listened to business who are saying his budget is...
It appears that Starmer is more focused on appeasing the unions than on enhancing education for our children. But what's truly noteworthy is that this bill has sparked a significant backlash among Labour MPs. They aren't just quietly dissatisfied in the halls of Westminster, they are genuinely furious. And can you really blame them? This bill undermines everything the Labour Party once stood for in education. It's as if Starmer has taken the party's principles and tossed them aside. Some Labour MPs even argue that this bill is more about catering to trade unions than about supporting children or improving schools. And you know what? I believe they have a point. It seems that Starmer is playing political games at the expense of our children's future. Let's not overlook Kemi Badenoch. When it comes to this bill, she isn't defending it at all. She referred to it as an act of vandalism. That's a pretty strong statement, but when you consider the potential damage this bill could inflict on our education system, it's hard to argue against it. It looks like Starmer isn't done dismantling the system just yet. Remember when the Labour Party genuinely cared about the environment? Starmer backed the construction of a third runway at Heathrow, and now the same party that once opposed climate change is supporting an increase in CO2 emissions.
Just getting back to this defence budget, Starmer knew he wasn't going to put that up. I don't care what anyone says. He will have predicted, he'll have enough experts whispering in his ear and saying this is the situation. He more than implied that, the defence departments were going to get a fair share of money. They were going to be up in the ante. There was going to be new investment with them, bearing in mind the decline they've been in for the last 12 years or so, and it ain't going to happen. And you know what? He knew it wasn't going to happen. That almost verges on lies.
In any case, this is a betrayal of everyone who has ever taken Labour's environmental commitment seriously. And do you know what really matters to Starmer? He continues to assert that the Labour Party cares about the environment. I'm sorry, but you can't position yourself as a champion against climate change while supporting a project that will release an additional 700,000 tons of CO2 each year. It's simply not feasible. Keir Starmer's recent outburst during Prime Minister's questions left everyone stunned. It seems he's awakened and decided to channel his inner Donald Trump. I'm not joking. He genuinely attempted to mimic Trump's speaking style, and it came off as awkward as it sounds. Starmer didn't shout, "Make Britain great again," but he certainly gave it his all. He started tossing around phrases like, "Let's take back control," and "The system is rigged against the people." Sound familiar? It's as if he's trying to be Trump with a British twist. The reaction was absolutely priceless. Labour supporters winced, the Tories laughed, and everyone else was just left scratching their heads.
The Prime Minister's decision to impose VAT on independent schools strips hard-working families of the choice for what is best for their children, while risking job losses for teachers, increasing class sizes, and squeezing state school resources to their absolute limit. With these impending threats, what actions is the Prime Minister taking to mitigate these effects if he is not undertaking an impact assessment to understand them?
I do understand that many parents across the country save hard to be able to send their children to private school because they have aspiration for their children. So does every parent who sends their children to a state school. And the problem we have is we don't have enough teachers in key subjects in our state secondary school. Now, the party opposite may be prepared to tolerate that. I'm not. And that's why we've made this change to fund 6,500 teachers.
This is a chaotic blend of ideas that could seriously damage our educational system. Starmer aims to eliminate academies, the very schools that have made a positive impact in England. The bill is cluttered with all sorts of irrelevant proposals, breakfast clubs, uniform regulations, and security measures likely already exist in some form. It seems they are attempting to divert our attention from the real issues by showcasing a collection of flashy innovations. Now, picture yourself as the principal of a local school. You have a talented math specialist from the tech industry eager to teach. Unfortunately, this bill states that you cannot hire him because he hasn't completed the standard training. That's how we lose potential talent in our schools. Additionally, this bill could even lead to a freeze on teachers' salaries. Starmer presents breakfast clubs and safety measures as if they are revolutionary concepts, but we see right through it.
Do you think it's acting within international law?
I think it's unwise for politicians to stand on stages like this or to sit in television studios and pronounce day by day which acts may or may not be in accordance with international law. I think it's not the role of politicians.
Is Vladimir Putin a war criminal?
Yes.
Yes.
What I've seen already amounts to war crimes, particularly the awful attacks on civilians. And I think it's very important that he's held to account and is responsible. And all those that are acting with him know that they too will be held to account. And this is something which we need to make clear now, so that those who are involved at the moment know what the consequences are.
This marks a complete reversal of their previous stance. The expansion of Heathrow Airport will lead to an additional 700,000 tons of CO2 emissions each year. Starmer is not opposed to this, prioritizing economic interests over environmental protection. But what kind of economy can we expect if we continue to harm the planet? Labour MPs are outraged. One of them remarks that this decision is a slap in the face to those advocating for climate justice and a sustainable future. Those are strong words coming from within your own party, Starmer. The Green Party is hosting an open day asserting that Starmer has lost all credibility on environmental matters. How can Labour be taken seriously now regarding climate change? The potential repercussions of this expansion are clear. We are looking at increased air pollution, heightened noise levels for local residents, and a significant setback to the UK's carbon reduction goals. Consider the impact this will have on local wildlife, as habitats are destroyed and migration routes are disrupted. The long-term consequences for public health could be severe, resulting in a rise in respiratory diseases and other illnesses related to pollution.
At the weekend, I took a microphone and a camera to a high street, and I spoke to a load of pensioners that, you know, some voted Labour, some didn't. But the anger out there is so high. They cannot believe what this government is doing. The optics is terrible. They are living the high life. Keir Starmer has had more freebies than any other MP over the last 5 years. I mean, after what he said in interviews and in Parliament, this is the biggest hypocrite in politics. It's such a bad look. And they are so out of touch with the normal people of this country. And I would have thought they would have given it a year or so, you know, before they decided to act like this. But it's after weeks. They've got no shame.
Starmer has managed to create such turmoil that even his own shadow cabinet is beginning to unravel. Some of his top staff are threatening to resign over the Heathrow debacle. The leader of the opposition can't even manage his own team. A genuine political disaster is unfolding right before our eyes. I can't help but wonder what he's thinking at this moment. He has alienated environmentalists, his own MPs, and likely a significant number of Labour voters who are concerned about the planet's future. All those speeches about climate change and promises of a greener future seem to have been discarded the moment he had a chance to appease big business. It appears he has forgotten that voters genuinely care about whether they have a planet to live on. Starmer is attempting to frame this as an economic breakthrough, as if increasing flights and pollution will somehow resolve all our issues. Doesn't he realize we are in the midst of a climate crisis? Or does he simply not care? Share your thoughts in the comments, and see you later.